So this video could be outdated really quickly. I guess it all depends on what Nogame does say in his Q&A session he did with the Victoria and Albert Museum. They did ask us for questions. A lot of people asked Nogame about Splatoon 3. So if Nogame does officially comment on Splatoon 3, this video could get outdated really quickly. So as you can tell from the title and what I did just talk about, I will be talking about when I think Splatoon 3 will be coming out. I know I have talked about this many times on the channel through Q&A sessions, stuff like that. I have talked about this in numerous videos over the last 6 months. So I want to make this video the one place, just because I know it might be quite hard for you to look back over the videos I have made over the last few months to see where I talked about Splatoon 3. So I want this video to be the one-stop sort of place where I round up all of my thoughts on the next Splatoon game in the main series in one video. I probably will not be talking about Splatoon 3 for a long while unless we do get news for the game, unless it does get leaked or announced, stuff like that. So I have got a lot of questions about Splatoon 3. I just want to bring up a couple that I was going to answer in the next Q&A video that I was going to do. I'm not sure when that will be. It probably will be next month. It might be in a couple of weeks time. Next week is looking really busy. But these are the questions that I will be focusing on in this video. Apologies if I do pronounce your names wrong, but I just want to thank you for leaving your questions for a Q&A episode. You left your questions like 2 months ago now, so I must apologise about that. Apologies about me taking so long to answer your question, but I will be making a whole video centered on your 2 questions. So the first question comes in from Chiquites S. Again, apologies if I do pronounce your name wrong, or if I did pronounce your name wrong. So their question is, do you think Splatoon 3 will happen in 2020? Ezkiel Chavez has asked, do you think they will release Splatoon 3 on the Switch or on the next gen console? So now that Splatoon 2 updates, big updates that do add in major new content to the game, seem to be ending this month in December. I know it is a little bit up in the air at this moment in time, just because Nintendo only mentioned that the next update will be the last update we get new weapons or new weapon kits. In December we will be getting 8 new weapon kits to the game. So I guess it is a little bit up in the air in terms of, is that it in terms of other new features? Does that mean that you can rule out Octoling hairstyles, for example, coming to the game? I know a lot of people are a little bit disappointed by the prospect of updates ending in December that do add in major new content, especially after Nintendo are now charging for us to play Splatoon 2 and other games online. A lot of people are a little bit disappointed how most of us have probably picked up a 12-month membership, but updates for the game have ended soon after that. A lot of the reason why people picked up a Switch Online membership was for Splatoon 2. So I guess I can understand that sentiment. I definitely understand where those people are coming from. I think you can definitely rule out new stages coming to the game. I think Nintendo meant what they said when they said that Skip Our Pavilion was to be the last stage added to Splatoon 2. I don't think we will get more remake stages, unfortunately, something which I have talked about numerous times on the channel recently. So yeah, because updates, big updates adding in new content seem to be ending in December, but we are still going to be getting balance updates and of course Splatfest up until July 2019. A lot of people are noticing that this is similar to what happened with the first game on the Wii U. Big updates did end around about this time in 2015, but we still had balance updates and of course Splatfest leading up to July 2016. And what is interesting about that is most of the dev team did move on to developing Splatoon 2 when big updates did end in December or at the end of 2015. Only a small part of the dev team was left behind to work on the first game to release the balance updates and of course make Splatfest go live. So could the same sort of thing be happening with Splatoon 2? Could most of the dev team be leaving developing updates for Splatoon 2 and are now moving on to developing the third game? You still got a small part of the Splatoon 2 dev team making updates for the game and releasing Splatfest, but most of the dev team, could they have moved on to working on Splatoon 3, and Splatoon 3, like Splatoon 2, will come out maybe 18 months after when big updates do end. So Splatoon 2 came out for the Switch in July 2017. Could Splatoon 3 come out in 2020? That sort of works out to be the same sort of time scale. Could that be happening? I know a lot of people in the community do think this way just because of the same sort of process that happened with the first game on the Wii U and what happened in between the first game and the second game. Could the same thing be happening with the third game? Could we be getting it as soon as 2020? I think you can definitely rule out the game coming out in 2019. There is no way Nintendo will release updates, balance updates, and keep doing Splatfest in 2019 and us getting the third game in 2019. So the earliest that I think we would get a Splatoon 3 would be 2020. Again, like what I said before, it definitely does follow the same sort of time period as what happened with the first game and the second game. Splatoon 3 in 2020 would be absolutely awesome if it was only less than a 2-year wait to that game. That would be really cool to see. But let's just throw a spanner into that and let's just talk about the other possibilities. So most of the dev team that does create Splatoon games, they do come from Animal Crossing. They did previously work on the Animal Crossing games and Nintendo took them away from working on Animal Crossing to make a new IP. Of course, that turned into Splatoon, but because Animal Crossing is coming out in 2019 or is due to come out in 2019, could this situation be happening? Could most of the dev team that did work on Splatoon 2 updates, could they have already left working on Splatoon 2? Could they be working on the Animal Crossing game that is coming out for the Switch? If that is the case, then that does definitely push back the possibility of us getting Splatoon 3 anytime soon. The dev team in that situation would be busy working on Animal Crossing. I know this year we had the Octo expansion DLC, so of course the dev team was busy creating that, but most of the Octo expansion DLC was created by people who worked on the shrines in Zelda Breath of the Wild. The Octo expansion DLC was being worked on at the same time we got some of the earliest updates we got for the game back in 2017, and I'm just looking at what Nogami has talked about in terms of how Nintendo do create updates for Splatoon 2. So this is what Nogami had to say. We have to have ideas for what we want to include a few months ahead of time. Then we will have to really put our heads down and work on everything. This sometimes means having to work in 2 or 3 week batches on these updates. You have to work a lot faster and a more compact schedule than we were previously used to. So what that sounds like to me is that these updates, of course, have been created quite a while before we actually do get these updates ourselves. Of course, Nintendo have to test out this content, make sure that the content is balanced. I'm just thinking in terms of the December update we are due to be getting next week. Maybe that update was created quite a while ago now. Maybe the dev team did create this update quite a while ago now and have left developing Splatoon 2 and have moved on to working on Animal Crossing for the Switch. Maybe that is happening. Maybe that is what is happening right now. Maybe that is why a Splatoon 3 will be many years in the future. But video games do take quite a while to create, and we don't know how long it has took Nintendo to create Animal Crossing for the Switch. So maybe Nintendo already had people in place to work on Animal Crossing for the Switch, or maybe Animal Crossing will not be coming out in 2019. Maybe it will come out in 2020. That date is not a definite release date, it's just a sort of placeholder at this moment in time. So maybe Nintendo either they are just working on the game right now, but I would imagine that the game would have been already worked on before they did announce it in a recent direct. Or maybe Nintendo did start working on Animal Crossing for the Switch when they did announce it, but again, I just see that as a little bit implausible. Like what I said before, video games, they do take quite a while to create. I think Animal Crossing was in the cooking pot for quite a while, so maybe Nintendo did have a dev team already in place and they decided to move over some of the dev team that did work on Splatoon and Splatoon 2 to help out the dev team already in place working on Animal Crossing to finish up the game for a 2019 release date. So just because this sort of time schedule is similar to what we saw with Splatoon 1, it doesn't necessarily mean the same sort of thing will happen like what happened with Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2. It doesn't necessarily mean that the dev team moving on from making updates for Splatoon 2 and are now working on the next game. They could be working on another game. They could be working on Animal Crossing. That is where they started out. That is where most of the dev team was plucked from. So maybe that situation could be happening. And my thoughts, this is not really old. I've really talked about this in numerous videos now, but I'm not sure whether we will get Splatoon 3 as soon as we got Splatoon 2 from Splatoon 1. I think Nintendo wanted the dev team to work on Splatoon 2 so that it would come out early in the Switch's life cycle to move on people that are on the Wii U playing Splatoon. They want those people. They wanted the Japanese market that has gone absolutely bonkers for the Splatoon IP. They wanted those people to pick up a Switch. So that is why we saw Splatoon 2 so soon after Splatoon 1. That is why we saw Splatoon 2 so soon in the Switch's life cycle. I'm not sure whether the same sort of thing will happen with a Splatoon 3. So pretty much we are in uncharted waters right now. We don't know whether because the Switch was on the horizon. I think that did play a part in why we got Splatoon 1 so soon, but we haven't really seen a situation where it would be possible for us to see whether Nintendo would be okay with releasing two Splatoon games on the same system, which is why I am waiting for that Q&A session from V&A Museum with Nogame. Maybe Nogame will talk about how Nintendo sees Splatoon, whether they are comfortable releasing multiple Splatoon games for the same system. If that is the case, then yeah, we could be seeing Splatoon 3 in the next 2 or 3 years. But if Nintendo treats Splatoon as an IP similar to Smash Brothers, so we only see it once per console, it could be a situation where we would have to wait until the next system for us to get Splatoon 3. That could be at least 5 or 6 years down the line. It could depend on how long Nintendo want to support the Switch for. It could be quite a while until the next system comes out. In terms of my thoughts, just because I've already talked about the situation or the possible situations that could be happening, my thoughts hasn't really changed that much. What I think will happen is, unfortunately, I think we will have to wait until the next system for us to get Splatoon 3. The only reason why we got Splatoon 2 so quickly is that Nintendo wanted to make the Switch as appealing as possible. They wanted the Japanese market to pick up a Switch before we got Pokemon, Smash Brothers, games like that in 2018. They wanted a big game in 2017 that would persuade the Japanese market to go out and pick up a Switch close to day one. It's like myself, I picked up a Switch day one mostly for Splatoon 2, believe it or not. I only really picked up a Switch day one for Splatoon 2. Of course, Zelda Breath of the Wild, that was just an absolutely amazing experience. But leading up to the Switch, I only really pre-ordered the system for Splatoon 2, and maybe many others were in the same situation as me, and maybe Nintendo wanted that to happen. They wanted all of the people that did play Splatoon on the Wii U to pick up a Switch really soon after the system did launch, which is why we did see the game in July 2017. But also, before that release date, we saw multiple global test fires to persuade people to pick up a Switch before the game did come out. So my thoughts is that Splatoon 3 is sadly not going to come out in 2020. I think the dev team is working on Animal Crossing. I think Nintendo want the Splatoon 2 dev team to help out on finishing the game, and they will release updates for the game as well into 2020 as well. And as soon as they have finished updating Animal Crossing, when Animal Crossing updates do end, that is when Nintendo will get that dev team to work on Splatoon 3. And I think that will be for the next system. I think the next system will come out in 2021, 2022. But we are a long way away from that happening. We are a long way away from that situation potentially happening. I could be wrong. Maybe we could be seeing Splatoon 3 in 2020. But that's just my thought process at this moment in time. I think the dev team, sadly, are not working on Splatoon 3. I think they are working on Animal Crossing for the Switch, due to come out in 2019. Maybe that could be coming out a little bit later, or maybe it could be coming out in 2020. But I think the dev team will only work on the next Splatoon game when they do finish developing not only the actual Animal Crossing game itself, but also updates. Similar to what is happening right now, how pretty much the dev team, maybe they have moved on as soon as they finish developing updates for Splatoon 2. So I know this video is definitely long-winded. I had a lot of stuff to say about this, and like what I said before, I want this video to be the one-stop place for my thoughts on Splatoon 3. Of course, my thoughts could change if new information does arise, but yeah, unfortunately, I don't think, because updates for Splatoon 2, big updates adding in new content, will be ending next month. I don't think that means we will be getting Splatoon 3 as soon as what we got Splatoon 2 from updates ending for the first game. I am definitely really sad about updates ending for Splatoon 2. It is a little bit of a tough sort of scenario. I know a lot of people picked up a Switch Online membership for Splatoon 2, so it does seem kind of weird how updates are ending so soon after the Switch Online service did launch. But I think Nintendo, what they wanted is for Splatoon 2 players to pick up a Switch Online membership straight away, and then those people will move on to Smash Brothers Ultimate. I think Nintendo Pretty much what they want to do is create a sort of system where you've got big games coming up all of the time, and when big games don't come out, then they will release updates for games that people are currently playing. And when those updates do end, they expect Splatoon 2 players to move on to games like Pokemon Let's Go, Smash Bros Ultimate. When Smash Bros DLC does end in 2020, the same situation will happen then. They expect those people to move on to the new games that will be coming out in 2020, whatever those games will be. But that's just my thoughts. What I want you to do in the comment section below is list your thoughts about this in the comment section below. When do you think Splatoon 3 will be coming out? I talked about the many situations or the many scenarios that could pan out in the future. Of course, when we do get that Q&A from Nogame, then I will bring that to you on the channel. But definitely I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say about this. Apologies that this video is really long, it really is. I just didn't know how to approach this. I didn't really want to make a video where I thought, oh, I wish I talked about this, I wish I talked about that. I just want to leave everything on the table. I don't really want to talk about Splatoon 3 like that much in the future. I just want this video to be a massive video where it covers most of the bases, hopefully. So yeah, my voice is gradually going. It's time for me to press that stop button, and I will see you in my next video, hopefully. Hopefully it will be a lot shorter than this one, but yeah, we'll see you in my next video.